Welcome to the holiday episode of Hallowed Groundling. I'm so excited for today's episode. I have a very special guest on with me today. But before I get to today's episode, I'd like to let you know what's coming up. The next Twilight Zone segment of Hallowed Groundling will be coming out on New Year's Eve. I will be breaking down the episode One for the Angels with a special guest. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to follow Hallowed Groundling wherever you get your podcasts, and also make sure to like, rate, and subscribe. It really helps to boost the podcast, and I really appreciate it. A shout out today, thank you to my dear friend Danielle, who hosts Terror at Collinwood, a podcast about dark shadows. Her support and love has meant the world to me, and if you haven't checked out Terror at Collinwood, do it now. It's an awesome podcast, and watch Dark Shadows because it's amazing. I also have a horror host show on YouTube called Hallowed Haunts, where my alter ego Elsa Rathbone and my darling husband, the slightly abominable Dr. Vincent Rathbone, host films of the macabre with our own wacky wraparound stories. We will be dropping a holiday episode on December 29th. We drop a new episode every month. Please follow us on YouTube and on all of our socials under Hallowed Haunts. I will put all of the links in our show notes. And with that business taken care of, let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome to Hallowed Groundling. Happy horror days to all of you. Today is going to be a very fun episode. I'm going to be breaking down two of my all-time favorite holiday horror movies. But first, I'd like to introduce my very special guest, Bill Haas. Bill is a lifelong music fan, a voracious reader, and a spectacular cat dad. He is also my handsome and dashing co-host on Hallowed Haunts, where he plays the slightly abominable Dr. Vincent Rathbone. Apart from all of this, he is my favorite person in the world and the most supporting and loving partner that anyone can ask for. And I'm so excited to have him on the podcast for my special 2025 holiday episode of Hallowed Groundling. Hello, darling.
Well, I'm really blushing over here.
Coming to you live from the pantry in our house with all of the Victorian kitties in the background. All right, so my first question for you, I'm so glad you're here with me to do this. My first question is, did you like horror movies at all before we got together?
So I've always liked big monster movies like Alien and Predator and Godzilla, of course. So, and I guess some of them certainly qualify as horror movies. So, yeah, I did.
Hmm.
I tend to prefer spooky, weird, psychological, ghosty kind of things rather than slasher kind of things.
Mm,
But I was not a stranger to horror movies before we met.
okay. So, what's been something that you found that you enjoy about horror after we met? Like something that changed from just the monster movies and the things that you liked before, the psychological ghosties. Is there anything that you've found that you enjoy that you didn't know you enjoyed before?
Well, I would say that I've come to appreciate things that maybe I wouldn't have appreciated before. Something like Halloween, for example, which I probably wouldn't really have liked very much, but I've come to appreciate kind of the artistry of the filmmaking and in things like that.
Nice. And why do you think Christmas horror movies are so popular?
Well, I think it's the juxtaposition of sort of the happy time of Thanksgiving or of Christmas and giving gifts and all that sort of thing, and
Mm,
the obvious not happy part of a good horror movie.
yeah. Yeah. I know, I agree with you. I think that they are popular for that exact reason because there is so much like joy and but also there's a lot of weirdness around Christmas too. We both have weird feelings about Christmas, right? I mean like from working retail and stuff, like I think we both have that same kind of like slight existential dread about the holiday season.
Yeah, Christmas is fine when it's just the two of us, but when you throw in the masses and then oddball family members, it's
Careful,
kind of its own little.
they might see this.
It's
You got to be careful, you know.
it's kind of horror movie in itself right there.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so first up, I'd argue and that it's the most popular Christmas horror movie. Would you say that it is? Would you say that it's the most popular? Our first movie that we're going to talk about?
Yeah, it's certainly, I'd say it's certainly up there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, first up for our two horror movies, we're Christmas horror movies, excuse me. First two horror Christmas movies we're going to cover are Black Christmas. So here's some fun facts about Black Christmas. It premiered on December 20th, 1974. It is a Canadian slasher. It's directed by Bob Clark, who we're going to talk about a little bit, and written by Roy Moore. Stars Olivia Hussey, Keir Dullea, Margot Kidder, and John Saxon, and Andrea Martin in a cool little role. I love Andrea Martin. The story follows a group of sorority sisters who receive threatening phone calls and are eventually stalked and murdered by a killer during the Christmas season. So, this movie was inspired by the urban legend of the babysitter and the man upstairs, and apparently also a real life series of murders that happened in Montreal, which I did not know about. When I did research, I didn't know that it was actually based on that. I knew it was based on the urban legend, but not a real life thing. So, what is your favorite part of Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas?
So I don't know that I have a favorite part. I think the thing I like most about it is the sort of creepy vibe of it. It's dark in a lot of places.
Mm,
It takes place in a house, in a kind of creepy house, which is always a great setting for that sort of thing. And there's a lot of misdirection about who the actual killer is,
yeah.
which keeps us all kind of very much involved in the story.
The first time you saw it, did you think it was Peter, the boyfriend? Did you think it was
Oh yeah,
Olivia? Yeah. Yeah, I did
oh
too.
yeah,
Like, I thought, but
yeah.
he was so obvious. I'm like, he's such a red herring that I was like, but I did think that the very first time that I saw Black Christmas, I was like, he's so, but then he was just so angry that I'm like, this is too obvious that he would be the one that was doing all of this, you know? But yeah, I definitely thought that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Bob Clark, who directed and I believe he co-wrote this too with Roy Moore. I'm not sure, but he did direct, so he directed this. So is it shocking to you that Bob Clark made this? I mean, he did. I always forget that he made Porky's. I don't know why. I wasn't a big Porky's fan, but I forget that he made that, which is kind of that raunchy, comedy. But like he made A Christmas Story, which is, of course, one of the most popular Christmas movies of all time. And then he made a very popular Christmas horror movie, too. But I would argue, like, wouldn't you think that A Christmas Story is also sort of a horror movie in its own way? Like, it's a black comedy, but it's also like a slightly horrific. Like, the scenes with Santa Claus are really scary.
Oh
When,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
like,
but
yeah.
it's yeah, it's a sort of a different viewpoint on that, where it's played as sort of amusing and it's funny for us as an audience, not necessarily for for the characters who are going through that whole thing with Santa.
Yeah, yeah. I know, but like it's funny to me that he made this and he made that. I don't know, like that's that they both exist, but I can see the cross of both of them. Like I can see like the similarities between the two of them, that it was him. So, yeah, because there are like when I thought about it more, I'm like Christmas Story definitely has really weird moments in it that kind of reflect what he does in his other films. Wouldn't you say?
Well, there's yeah, absolutely. There's certainly any number of instances of people moving beyond what we think that whatever their genre or niche is
Yeah.
in whatever creative endeavor. I mean, if you probably wouldn't want to read Roald Dahl's adult stories
Hmm.
to your kids,
No.
even though there are elements of that in like even like Willy Wonka for
Willy
Charlie and the
Wonka is
Chocolate Factory.
terrifying. Willy Wonka is absolutely he's a very
Yeah,
scary character. They made him scary in the movie, I would say too. Like the scene in the boat is just
yeah,
terrifying. But I agree with you. Like The Witches is very scary too. Like Roald Dahl is scary overall, even though he is was considered a children's author. I think he's
but
scary
his
overall.
adult stuff is not scary, but it's definitely adult.
Right. Yeah. Agreed, 100%. So let's talk a little bit too about the actors and the characters in the movie. So What do you think of Margot Kidder in the movie? What do you think of her and her character in the movie? She's just like I love her so much. I think she's great as Barb. I love how she answers the phone and she just takes no crap from anyone ever. What do you think
Yeah.
of her in the movie?
Oh, I think she's great.
Yeah.
Certainly, um, it's kind of a shame what happened to her eventually, like in her own life. But
Yeah.
she's wonderful in this.
Yeah. Apparently, when I was doing research, I found out that she insisted on being actually drunk when she like was on the phone because Barb was
Well, good for
drinking. And I was like, that really tracks with Margot Kidder. That totally tracks with her. But yeah, she did. She insisted on being drunk. I love that about her. I love the fellatio scene with the cop, when she tells him that their phone number is the fellatio. What is that called? What's the letter code called with phones? The old letter code. Like
uh, the exchange.
yes, the exchange. Thank you. The
Yeah,
exchange. She says the fellatio is the, and the cop doesn't know what it is. And like you see John Saxon in the background, like laughing. You see all the other cops that do know what it is laughing. I love that scene so much. She's great in it. What do you think of Olivia Hussey in the movie? What do you think of her as Jess?
um, I think she's really good in the role.
Yeah.
She's got that kind of like that presence.
Mm,
She's certainly um, very attractive.
yeah.
Uh, you
She's
know,
very like I think I agree with you. She's so beautiful. She was a really beautiful woman, like absolutely, and had a stunning voice and presence, you know. And it's terrible to watch her, I think, throughout the film as she gets into more and more danger, and
yeah,
particularly at the end of the film, which we'll talk about too. But yeah,
yeah,
I know her presence is fantastic. I love the scenes with her and Peter. Like they're really dramatic and terrible, of course, because Peter, she finds that she's pregnant and she doesn't want to have the baby because she wants to go to school and Peter's forcing her to have the baby. Those scenes are very well done and well acted between the two of them, you know. But yeah, I love her in that movie. I think she's great. And she was also wonderful in the miniseries of It. She was in the 1990 It miniseries. She played Bill's wife, Audra. And she's great in that too. And she just recently passed away too. We just lost
yeah.
Olivia Hussey, unfortunately, but she was phenomenal. All right, so some more fun facts about Black Christmas. So, this is rumored to be one of Steve Martin's favorite films. And how we know this
Speaking of
is
speaking of crossover,
right? I know, which was quite shocking. I had to put this down because I was like, what? Apparently, Olivia Hussey was up for the role of Roxanne in Steve Martin's Roxanne.
oh yeah,
And
yeah,
she went in for the audition, and Steve said to her, "You're in one of my favorite movies of all time." And it was Black Christmas, which I was like, wow, look at you, Steve Martin. We love Steve Martin, so I loved that. So this was really creepy and crazy. So they retitled the movie Stranger in the House to release it on television in the US, and they were supposed to release it on NBC on January 28th, 1978. And just before this, on January 15th, two women were killed in a sorority in Florida. And they begged them, they said, please don't air this movie, because this thing just happened like 8 days before. And they're like,
yeah.
please don't put this out. Not 8 days. What is that? It's 13. No, 13 days. A couple weeks before it happened. And they were like, please don't do this. And so they didn't, and they pivoted and they put a different movie up. But those were the two women that Ted Bundy killed in the sorority in Florida when he escaped. Which I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I had no idea about that. I was like, that's crazy. Yeah. What do you think about that? What do you think about what do you think about true things like that that happen? Do you think that those things are you're a lifelong media lover and I love getting that opinion from everybody. I mean, you're my husband. I love you, but I wonder what you think about when real life events happen and how art reflects on those things or doesn't, or do you think it's a factor or do you think it's all personal?
Well, I mean, any good artist, I think, is creating art that maybe does reflect the world, things that are happening,
Hmm.
or things maybe aren't happening that they'd like to happen, or a way they'd like to see things or an alternate take on things. So I don't think that creative things like movies, books, television, whatever, I don't think that those cause things to happen. I think that there was um, um, the kids at Columbine were supposedly influenced by heavy metal or Judas Priest. I forget exactly what it was, but I don't think
Yeah.
that that's the root. That's not the root of the problem. The root is something much deeper than something as relatively ephemeral as music or books or art.
Yeah. It's a cop out, I feel like, when people do that. It's a scapegoat. It's an easy scapegoat to say it's the fault of television or mu music or
Yeah,
movies or
yeah.
anything, you know. Yeah.
As
Interesting.
for as for delaying the or like not putting the movie on because of something that happened recently, I mean I kind of get that.
Yeah.
There was a Schwarzenegger movie, Collateral Damage,
Mm.
that was supposed to come right after 9/11, and they delayed it for a couple of months, I think, because of what happened at 9/11. And
Yeah, I remember that.
I
Yeah.
understand that because that can kind of like trigger people or they won't be interested in seeing something that they might otherwise be interested in simply because of something that happened recently.
Right. I remember too, I don't know if you remember this, speaking of 9/11, but I remember that there was a trailer for Spider-Man. I think it was one of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, and um Spider-Man had made a web between the two towers, and they took that trailer off the air. Like that trailer never went out again after
Yeah,
9/11. Yeah, because it was like right around the same time, and then they just took it away and it never came out again. I know. I understand that. And I totally agree with them not playing that film at that time. I think it would have been too upsetting to a lot of people at a time when something actually terrible happened that's very close to what happens in the film, you know. So I understand that, but yeah, cool. All right. So, a couple more things. The movie was supposed to be a lot more graphic than it was. But apparently, both the writer and Bob Clark, they thought that it was a good idea to tone it down to, as you said earlier, make it more mysterious and make it more, you know, much more suspenseful, I think, than gory. And it's not a gory film. Wouldn't you agree?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not.
No, it's a much more
It,
creepy. Yeah. I think it would have been much more. I think the way that they had it originally, it was going to be a lot more of a slasher, gory film, but it's still a slasher, but it's definitely got a lot more suspense to it. I still jump every time the girl in the closet with the plastic, when the plastic goes over her in
Mhm.
the oh God, every time I see that, it freaks me out. Completely freaks me out. Yeah, I mean, and I love that. I think that's always a good idea because less is more. People fill in the blanks with horror movies in their mind. When they see less, they get more scared. All right.
Yeah,
This was fun too. Peter was originally supposed to be played by Malcolm McDowell, who apparently was very sad that he had turned down the role after the film was like a huge success. He was very sad. But I think that would have added an interesting element if it was him. Well, I don't know the timeline. Do you know if Clockwork Orange was after? Well, that was before that, right? It must have been.
you would know better than I.
It must have been before that. Yeah, it must have been so. But yeah, I think that would have been interesting. He would have made an interesting Peter. But yeah, I thought that was a cool thing. So speaking of the killer, so how do you feel about the ending of the film that we never find out who the killer is? What do you think of that kind of an ending where there's no wrap up?
Well, I mean, I think that's life, right? 'Cause we don't always know the answers to things. Like
Mm,
films, I think, tend to work towards like an actual resolution. I think it was an interesting approach to not for us not to know who the killer was, because that
yeah,
happens in life. You always find out the answers to things.
right.
I think a lot of times in films, or even in books too, we tend to expect a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's a resolution at the end.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
But
we will.
things in life don't happen that way necessarily.
No, no, not at all. And I mean, you and I watch a lot of true crime. Like we are big true crime fans. Like we we watch a lot of Dateline, and we
And we
watch a
hate it when they don't get the person who did it.
yes, we do hate it when they or when they let them go or they don't get a they don't get a sentence because the jury can't convict them. That happened on the one last week where I was really angry where the guy got the like the he got off and I was just like it's so obvious he did this. That's terrible. That's like the worst because do you think that's why like we like endings some people like endings that are wrapped up in a bow? Like do you think that's why?
Yeah, because we don't always get that in the real world.
Right. It's much more comforting to get the wrapped up
Yeah.
ending. Yeah, I agree. So both of they've made remade Black Christmas twice. They made it remade it in 2006 and remade it in 2019. And both of those movies reveal the killer, which I thought was interesting. They were like they both take care of the killer. So I think maybe sensibilities have changed, do you think? Or do you think like
Maybe.
yeah, I don't know. I was like,
I mean, I think as time has gone on, we kind of want because there's a lot more uncertainty now, even 15, 20 years ago than there was 51 years ago when the movie was made. I
right.
think we really look for if we can't get it in life, we want that in our movies and our books and our television shows where there's an actual resolution. And I
Yeah.
think that may be part of the driving factor of having the killer found and revealed in the two remakes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, I think, for me, as I said at the top of this, that Black Christmas to me is the best Christmas horror movie. That's my personal opinion. It is the most scary. It's still scary. It still hits. It's still incredible. And I don't know, I just really love the overall arc of that film. I think it's really interesting. The ending, as we've talked about just now, is it's just so unsettling. How do you think it ends? So when it ends and everybody leaves her, which always upsets me that they leave Olivia Hussey all alone in the house. She's passed out in her bed and they think, oh, the killer was, whatever, it's gone and everything's done. And then the phone starts ringing and this guy is still in the house with her. Do you think he takes Olivia Hussey, that he kills Olivia Hussey after the camera finishes rolling and like what we don't see?
I mean, I think I'd like to think that she gets away because she's a sympathetic character and we kind of root for her along the way.
Yeah,
Um, but the whoever it is seems pretty impervious to being caught,
right.
and he does what he wants to do and gets away with it. So
Yeah. It's an upsetting ending. It is. It's an upsetting ending because she's all alone again. And you're like, and they leave her all alone, which I never understood. I was always like, why would you leave her? She just went through this traumatic thing. Why would you all be like, ah, it's all done. See you later.
I,
You know?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I love Black Christmas. Um, do you have any other thoughts on Black Christmas before we move on?
no, I would say that Harry and Marv would say that Home Alone is the scariest ho holiday movie, but that's just for them.
Little sidebar that Bill and I watch Home Alone every year, and we laugh like two small children at every single physical gag in Home Alone. Like I would say that we wait for like Kevin to be eating the mac and cheese, and we know that the best scenes are coming of Home Alone. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we love.
I
Yeah,
mean, the
we.
movies, they're sweet and funny, and that they're both like we get a little teary-eyed with with the the old guy next door neighbor and the pigeon lady in the
Yeah.
second movie, but yeah, we're really there for the injuries to Harry and Marv.
Oh, I love the whole movie. I don't mean that, but we do look forward to those moments in anticipation and like laugh. We love those moments in the movie. So yes, we're fans of physical comedy, particularly when people get hurt. I don't know what that says about us. Maybe because they don't really get hurt. Maybe that's why.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't like when people really get hurt. We're not like that. We're not that weird.
But pretend hurt is fun. It's the same with horror. The slapstick stuff,
safe.
nobody really gets hurt. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's safe. It's safe hurt, you know. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Next up, not nearly as popular, but certainly fantastic, Jack Frost. This was not to be confused with the Michael Keaton movie. So some facts about Jack Frost. This came out in 1997. It was direct to video. It's a black comedy slasher, written and directed by Michael Cooney, starring Scott McDonald as Jack Frost, Christopher Alport as Sam, Stephen Mendel as Agent Manners, and Shannon Elizabeth in her premiere role as Jill. So the plot is after a car accident that leaves murderer Jack Frost dead in genetic material, the vengeful killer returns as a murderous snowman to exact his revenge on the man who sent him to be executed. So, darling, what do you like about Jack Frost? What are your feelings on Jack Frost?
So it kind of walks that line between kind of a goofy, kind of almost not comedy exactly, but kind of a goofy take on things. And there are actual moments of like being like real fear and danger for some of the characters.
Right.
So it's a little too goofy in spots, and maybe not quite scary enough because it's a little goofy in spots, but it's still a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I saw it many years ago. The first time I saw it on video. I rented it when I was a teenager, and I loved it. I just thought it was absolutely hilarious. I was at the end of my teen years because it came out in 97, so I was like, but it was so funny. I just like cracked up. I thought it was the silliest, stupidest movie, but it just made me laugh. And I can understand why it has this very big cult following for those reasons. So Michael Cooney also wrote and directed Jack Frost 2. There's a sequel. Did you know there's a sequel to Jack
Well,
Frost?
I mean, spoiler alert, at the end we see the antifreeze bubbling in
Yeah,
one of the tubes that they buried. So there's a hint that there could be more.
right. So it's Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman which is a very long title, but Michael Cooney also wrote Identity with John Cusack, which came out in 2003. I love that movie. You have not seen that movie, have you? Have I shown you that
No.
one? No, that's a really good movie. That's a very, very creepy, very well done movie. So yeah, he wrote that one. So what do you think of Scott McDonald's performance as Jack Frost?
So it's mostly the voice because
Mm-hmm.
we only see him as a person just for a few scenes early on. Um, he's kind of got a little bit of that, um, some of those one-liners that Schwarzenegger was kind of known for, like blow off some steam, Bennett in Commando, that kind of thing. I
Oh,
mean,
you
that's
mean
that's
you mean
the
like Batman and Robin, where he literally is like just puns about ice as Mr.
yeah,
Freeze?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah, but that I mean that's the writing. That's not his performance. And
no,
otherwise, he's fine. He's
yeah,
very creepy, very like ooh.
yeah.
In the early scenes where we actually see him as a person, not as a snowman.
It's funny because when I was writing this, I he reminds me a lot of Robert Zadar, don't you think? Like
Oh yeah, I could see that.
he's got that real big chin, not as big of a chin as Robert Zadar, because that was a chin. you know, Not a Bruce Campbell
Yeah,
chin, but a chin, a good chin. And he
yeah,
reminded me a lot of it. I was like, oh yeah, he's got that same kind of like brooding, intense thing. I'd forgotten how much I loved the opening scenes. We rewatched it last night with Rifftrax, which we love, and they had it on Tubi, so we ended up watching it with Rifftrax because we both seen it regular and we hadn't seen it with the Rifftrax. But he reminded me a lot of Robert Zadar. I was like, oh my God, with the chin and the deep voice and the intensity and the brooding and everything. Yeah. You think so?
yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think of Christopher Alport as Sam, the cop who brought him down and he exacts his revenge on? What do you think of him?
Oh, I think he's fine. He's a little bit of a good sense of humor.
Hmm.
He's trying to keep kind of keep everything together.
Yeah.
We're not going to, like, we don't want to panic anybody, but I think he's fine in the role.
It's funny because they're making this movie and it's incredibly silly and and so off the rails in so many ways, but both Scott McDonald and Christopher Allport are very like they've done a lot of movies and television, like very prolific character actors. And I just love that actors that can go into something and take it seriously no matter how silly it is, and they both do. They both do in this movie. They both take it very, very seriously no matter how wild it gets. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
They they can be silly and goofy in the role, but they're serious about giving a good performance.
Right. Yeah, they both are.
Yeah,
They're both great, and they're both wonderful in it. What do you think
yeah.
of Shannon Elizabeth as Jill in her breakout role? This is her first movie.
Breakout role.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was fine.
yeah,
She's gets naked at the end and gets killed. Spoiler alert.
yeah.
Which I guess that's what's supposed to happen when that happens. But
Right.
um, she's fun and certainly very attractive.
Yeah. The thing about her is, and I wonder how you feel about it, is that I love her in everything she's done. I love her in American Pie. I love her in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which I don't think you've seen, she's not as much of an airhead. She didn't play as much of like a she's pretty. You can't get away from that. Like, and she's Jay's love interest, so she's like beautiful, of course, but she's not that dumb kind of, one note character. She's got more with Kevin Smith too. It's good writing. So it's also like that's part of it. But yeah, I like when she plays like more complex roles. I'd love to see her in more complex things because I think she's got a lot more going for her than just her looks all the time. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I like her a
yeah,
lot. All right. So, a few fun facts about Jack Frost. Um, Michael Cooney, who wrote and directed it, did the voice of the narrator at the beginning, and Marcia Clark, that is her real name, not the Marcia Clark from the O.J. Simpson case. She plays the dispatcher in the film, and she looks a lot like Adrienne Barbeau, a lot, which I was thinking, and then Rifftrax said last night, which made me laugh because I was like, that was exact. I was like, wow, I never realized how much she looks like Adrienne Barbeau, and then they said it, and I was like, yeah, she really does. Who Bill and I love very much, who we got to meet, and she loved us. We think she loved us. She remembered us anyway, so we do love. We're a big Adrienne Barbeau fan house here, right?
yeah. We assume we would be friends if we lived near each other.
Absolutely. Oh, 1,000% we'd be friends. Yeah. So she played the little girl, the Marcia Clark, the actress. She played the little girl in the opening narration. What do you think of the opening narration? What do you? No, it's so great. I think it's so goofy, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sets the tone for the whole movie, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it definitely does. Yeah. So, the movie was shot during a drought in the wintertime with no snow on the ground, and foam and cotton were used as snow substitutes. I was thinking last night when we were watching the Rifftrax one, and they commented a lot about how it looked really warm there, and they were saying, "Oh, it's like a balmy. Everybody's got suntan lotion on, and it's because it does look warm. It doesn't look like
it,
it's cold there."
yeah. At no point did I ever really think that anybody was actually cold.
Yeah, there was one point. It was the cop Chris when the one that Jack Frost runs over with the car when he backs over him.
Yeah,
He gets out of the car and he's got fog breath. That's like the
yeah,
only time that it ever looks semi-cold in that movie. But yeah, apparently it was during a drought. So it was like, yeah, and they had no snow, so it was like and they said it got up to like 70 during when they were filming it. So, yeah. This is another fun thing about the movie. So, this movie was given complete creative freedom. The original company that agreed to finance the movie went bankrupt just weeks before bankrupt. I didn't say that right. Bankrupt just weeks before the filming. And the bank oversaw the film, and all they wanted and cared about was like a 90-minute feature in a video package that they could sell. So they didn't go to the set, they didn't oversee anything. So Michael Cooney could do whatever he wanted, which is like independent movie heaven. And this is so that's why they could do whatever the hell they wanted to do during this movie. And funnily enough, they filmed this in 1994. And then when they finished it and edited it and put it together, the bank got a hold of it and watched it, and they were like, this is crap. And they just shelved it. They didn't get it to be distributed or anything. And then one guy found it and watched it and thought it was great. And he ended up making, I don't know if you remember from renting videos, but the box cover of Jack Frost was like a lenticular cover. So like when you turned it, it was like he was a snowman, but then he was like jagged teeth and scary. And he made that really cool box for it. And then they were able to like distribute it. And he ended up selling the rights to it for like $50,000, and then it was brought out to video stores. So it did sit on a shelf for 3 years in between, which
Yeah.
I thought was kind of like, I don't know, like, come on, you were sitting on a gold mine. This is really
Right.
fun, and I think as an action fan, you're gonna love this. So the film was initially going to be an action thriller. It was written as an action thriller with a bigger city setting and a CGI Jack Frost and a $30 million budget. And Rennie Harlin was attached to direct, and Rennie Harlin of Die Hard 2 and Nightmare on Elm Street 4 fame, and he was married to Gina Davis at the time, and she read it and she thought it was complete crap, so she made him do Cutthroat Island instead.
We know how that.
We know how that all turned out. I was like, "Oh, that's the worst movie." I was like, "Oh my God." But, I mean, I can't really see. I don't know if Gina Davis was planning on being in Jack Frost or whatever it was called at the time, but isn't that interesting that it pivoted from being an action thriller, like a more serious action thriller. Could you picture that as
I
like
can't. Can't. I have a hard time imagining what that would be. It works much better in that sort of smaller town setting,
yeah,
where they have the snow festival
right.
and it's a very limited uh, number of characters and kind of the quirky people from around the town. It works
Yeah.
much better that way.
Yeah, like I guess when Rennie Harlan turned it down and everything, and then Mike Clooney was doing it, and then they were still going to keep it serious. It was still going to be a very serious horror movie. It wasn't going to be campy or silly or funny at all. And you know what did it was when they made the snowman costume. They saw the snowman costume and they were like, "There's no way people are going to take this seriously. Like we've got to make it funny." Like we've got to make it full of puns, and yeah, so that's exactly why it ended up, and it's all those things that happen, those elements that come together, and then it's like what made more sense with the money that they had and what they could do. And yeah, yeah, I loved that. I thought that was really funny. So we watched the Rifftrax treatment of Jack Frost, like I said earlier. And so do you think that the movie was a good riff? Do you think it was riffable?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing about it is, for riff tracks, the best things they do are movies that are serious about themselves. They may be goofy and like fun and silly and everything,
Yeah,
but they're not trying to make something bad.
yeah,
Like James Wen, who made Birdemic, was legitimately trying to make a good movie. He failed, but his work ethic, like he wanted to do it right. And I think that's the same thing with Jack Frost. Jack Frost is not at the level with up or down as Birdemic, but
yeah.
yeah, there was a seriousness of intent, even if the intent was to make something that kind of crossed the line between scary and goofy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think that Rifftrax does operate best in that wheelhouse. And I have to say that my dream would probably be like to do an episode of the podcast with me and you and James Wen and like Alan Baugh and all to talk about Birdemic, one of the finest films of all time, one of my favorite films of all time. So, do you think that Jack Frost deserves the cult status that it has?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's clearly not meant for the mainstream, but
No.
it's got more life than I think they originally thought it would have when it was first released.
You're right. Because I mean, as like when I was on Danny's podcast, we talked about how you can't set out to make a cult movie. Like you can't do that.
Yeah,
It's not a thing you can do. I don't think, and I think as a music fan, right, you'd agree, like you can't set out to make a hit. I mean, people try now, but you can't set out to make things that are gonna you just make what you make and then either people respond to it or they don't, you know?
yeah, yeah. The best creative endeavors are made by people who are creative and want to do what they do and are not trying to do. They don't want to make a hit movie or a hit song or write a bestseller. They're doing what they feel that they're best at doing. They want to tell a story or
Right.
create a good piece of music, and what it becomes at the end is not up to them and not what they're trying to do.
Right. I asked you at the top of the show about your feelings about horror movies, like before we met and like after we met, and I wonder about your feeling about cult movies. Did you love cult movies before we met?
Um, I guess there were certainly movies that well, with music, I only listen to bands no one's ever heard of. So
It's
with
true.
movies, I mean, there are things that I've appreciated that probably are cult movies or could have been cult movies at the time. I mean, I saw the original Road Warrior,
Mm,
the first one, um, in the original Australian before they dubbed it with American voices.
yeah,
That would certainly qualify, I think, as a cult film. Um, I,
definitely.
I just like things that I liked, and whether anybody else liked it or not didn't really matter to me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are certainly things in the mainstream that I really like a lot that I understand why they're so popular, but there's definitely stuff in the mainstream that I don't like or get. I don't begrudge anyone ever for what they like. They're allowed to like, everybody's allowed to like what they like. But I think that, cult movies always hit with me only because like they are I don't know, anti-culture. They're funny. Like there's something about each of them that I love that have responded to. Something inside of me has responded to, whether it's weird or whether it's, off-putting or, uncomfortable or whatever it is. It's like the reason I love John Waters, the reason I love, and maybe because it's like the thing that needs to be loved more than the other things because it needs that attention, because it's
Yeah,
interesting.
Titanic does not need your attention. Yeah,
No, Titanic
yeah,
doesn't need, and either one of us. Titanic has
yeah,
more than enough. Wicked has more than enough. I
yeah.
mean, we like Wicked, and you and I liked Wicked. Like we watched the first, we haven't seen the second one yet, but we watched the first one and we liked it. I love the musical. I think it's great. But is it my favorite thing? Because, it's like, maybe not, only because it's like I love the other things that are maybe a little less lovable.
Yeah.
And Jack
Yeah,
Frost would definitely fall underneath that category, wouldn't you
yeah,
say? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, I think we've had a very successful holiday episode of Hallowed Groundling. I am very happy that you came on with me here tonight, that you're just in the downstairs of our house and you're
Right.
pretending that
One
you're
floor away. Yeah.
one floor away. I can kind of hear myself vaguely echoing that we've had part of our dinner cooking during this. But thank you, sweetheart, for
No,
everything that you do and for
yep.
being the best and for giving us the best life because without you, the holidays really, really stink.
Oh, but you know what we forgot to mention about Jack Frost? Why
What?
did why did his son put antifreeze in his oatmeal?
That was the thing we asked each other last. I'm like, no one's going to talk about the fact that he was going to poison his dad with antifreeze. Oh, I
Antifreeze.
forgot to talk about that. Yeah. That
Yeah,
was disturbing. That
yeah.
was sort of like, oh,
I
so
mean,
you,
it was a major plot. Like the whole thing turned on that revelation. But
they're like,
for that,
I know the son is a bad cook, and he put
yeah,
antifreeze in
yeah.
the
Keep
oatmeal.
his dad warm. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's a dark ending.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you for
Merry
being
Christmas,
on the show.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe and be good. Bye bye. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Hallowed Groundling. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and rate wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to follow Hallowed Groundling on all social media. Links are in the show notes. Until next time, I hope you have a very happy holiday and stay spooky.